There is one flower that is loved more than any other, the rose. And there are lots of different kinds that can be used in different situations and different gardens. So here they all are. Each one works in the garden in a different way. First up, the standard rose. Now, standard roses are very divisive. People either love them or loathe them. I'm not telling you where I am in the debate about standard roses, but this is what it is. It has a tall stem, and then the bush itself is at the top of that stem. What it is, this rose here has been grafted onto a tall stem of a briar. Almost all roses are grafted onto a rootstock. That's why you get suckers that are not the same as the variety on the top. They're all grafted onto a rootstock because it controls their vigour, it's sturdy, more so than the variety itself would be, which might have sort of weak roots. So they're good for giving height to a bed or border. They come in all different kinds of flower colour, shape and form. This variety is called Carefree Days, and they're used often in pots on their own outside a front door as sort of sentinels, one either side of a doorway, or rising up through a bed of lower growing plants. You can make them into quite formal features. If you've got two borders, you can dot them on either side all the way down, and they will last from June right the way through to October. Not bad really, is it? At the other end of the spectrum when it comes to height is the Patio Rose. Now, patio roses are shorter. They generally don't grow much more than 1.5 foot high, some of them even lower than that. They're stocky little plants, and as such, really handy if you have restricted space, like a patio or even a doorstep. The thing about them is they give great value for money right the way through the summer. So if your space is restricted, the Patio Rose is most definitely for you. What I love about this rose, apart from the fact that it will repeat flower right the way through the summer, is that it has really healthy foliage. Everybody has their own colour preference when it comes to flowers. If you want a good red, then Crimson Sweet Dream is a really strong one. It's a strong grower too. And if you look at the way the flowers form, you get a cluster at the end of each stem. That means you've got flowers coming over successive weeks. And this will flower from late May, early June, right the way through till October. It's not just colour that's important in a rose, it's fragrance. And the only way to tell if the rose you're buying is fragrant is to buy it when it's in flower. And all these container grown plants, you can see what the flower's like, but you can also smell it. Crimson Sweet Dream has a very pleasant scent. It's very nice. It's not the strongest, it's not the most talcum powdery of scents, but it's really rather nice. In borders of perennials and shrubs, a mixed border, this is perhaps the most popular type of rose. This is the Shrub Rose. Shrub roses grow much larger than our friend the Patio Rose, so they need a bit of space. Some of them are very old, raised in, well, sometimes the 16th century, but the majority of them that we grow in our gardens today were raised in the 19th century, and there are modern ones today that have one distinct advantage over those old garden roses. The old garden roses have one season of flowering, generally from June edging into July, but that's it. The modern shrub roses, and those that are called the English roses, they'll start flowering in late May, early June, and they will have a big flush, but they will then sputter on right the way through the year. This is a really popular one called Ballerina. It's an elegant thing with these wonderful large flower clusters, tiny flowers, and they start really quite dark pink and then they fade to almost white as the flower ages, so you get this lovely two-tone effect. I love shrub roses. There's one in particular that I adore. It was raised in France in 1868. It's called Jacques Cartier. Its perfume is fab. It smells like a very expensive rose talcum powder. Oh, better than aftershave any day. So if you're looking for a rose to plant in a border with perennials, I would always plump for a shrub rose. And if you want height, that is where the climbing rose comes in. Climbing roses, as the name suggests, grow up and up and up and up and up, but they do need training in, tying in. They're great against a sunny wall. One or two varieties will even cope with a modicum of shade on a wall, but they need to be trained. They need to be tied into trellis work or trained over an arch, because these stems get very long and whippy. Climbing roses come in all colours and quite a lot of different flower formations. This one is called Swan Lake. I think you can see why, really, can't you? It's white, and climbers, if you prune them and deadhead them, will repeat flower right the way through the year. I love them, particularly on house walls, and I've trained pink ones, one called Shropshire Lad and another one called the Generous Gardener, on the front of my house. Trained over an archway or a series of arches, they make the most wonderful entrance to a garden. Put an arch over a gateway into your garden. Little cottage gardens did it all the time, and train one climber up each side until they meet in the middle. It's a wonderful thing to do. The anticipation is superb as you see them edging ever closer to the top, and finally they meet, and you are then surrounded by this great bouquet of flowers and scent as you walk into your garden. Climbers aren't the only roses that grow upwards. The other one, which is very vigorous, is the rambling or rambler rose. Now, ramblers are the giants of the rose world. They produce masses of flower, but generally just the once. If you want convincing about the beauty and spectacle of ramblers, just look at the one behind me. This is Paul's Himalayan musk. It's a glorious month when this is out, and the fragrance is fab. This one is called Super Fairy, a similar shape of flower, white, just gently tinged with pink. They are great for training up through old fruit trees that are past their best and no longer carrying apples or pears. That one grows up through an old fruit tree just the other side of that wall there, and that acts as its support. You can't see it because it's covered in this welter of growth. Generally speaking, ramblers can be left to do their own thing for as long as they like, until they start, as they say up north, going back a bit. Then you can hammer them with the secateurs and encourage new growths to come out. You might think that ramblers aren't worth growing because they've only got that one season of flower. But boy, that month is so worth living for. I would never do without them. I just want to say a massive thank you to the 50,000 of you who've subscribed to my YouTube channel. And by way of thanks, one of you will be receiving a copy of my Kitchen Gardener. I'll be picking the winner next week, so subscribe now to be in with a chance of winning it. I've left till last the rose that everybody sees in their mind's eye when the word rose is mentioned. This, the hybrid tea. The hybrid tea is the classic cabbage rose, big, fat, full and blousy. Usually one flower at the top of each stem, but gosh, what a flower. Fragrances vary. This is Wedding Bouquet, a relatively mild scent but a lovely white flower. Again, the colour range is virtually everything except blue. The man who invents the blue rose, or the woman, will make a fortune. But I don't know, I don't want a blue rose, do you? Some of them, there's an old one called Peace, grow quite tall, sometimes up to 5 or 6 feet high. But generally speaking, they're around waist height if they're properly pruned. They need hard pruning every January or February, taking them down to around knee height. Leave them unpruned, they get very tall, very leggy, flowering subsides, and you can't sniff them because they're way up there. The other hybrid tea I have here is a real showstopper. This is Nostalgia. The flowers here are an amazing confection. If you look at the back of them, you'll see they're paler than the front, but then pull the petal back and it's white behind this really rich rose pink. And the foliage, this is perfect hybrid tea foliage, perfect rose foliage, shiny, glossy, leathery. The habit of hybrid teas is not nearly as relaxed as shrub roses, which is why they're so often grown on their own in a bed. If you do that, plant them relatively close together so there aren't acres of grey dust underneath, and populate the ground underneath with hardy geraniums or violets so that they've got ground cover beneath them. And then you can have a rose bed which does look pretty rather than these things shooting up in a desert of dust. When you look closely at that flower, you've got to admire it. I mean, it is spectacular in the extreme. So there you are, 7 different types of roses, something to suit every situation and every garden. Nobody should be without them. Gardening has changed my life, so let me show you how it can change yours. I'll be posting new videos every week, so subscribe and let's get gardening together.